Call the meeting to order at 7:02. And before we go ahead and start, I'm going to read, in accordance with Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, public bodies otherwise governed by the OML are temporarily relieved from the requirements that meetings be held in public places, open and physically accessible to the public, so long as measures are taken to ensure public access to the body's deliberation through adequate alternative means. This meeting will be live on Zoom. The public may participate remotely by joining Zoom meeting ID number of 840-0877-2826 or by calling 929-205-6099. For additional information about remote participation, please contact Carly Antonellis, the Assistant Town Manager, at atm@ayer.ma.us or 978-772-8220, extension 100, prior to the meeting during business hours. Again, I called the meeting to order of the Community Preservation Committee, and it is February 7th. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. This is a nice way to enjoy the sunshine outside that was there earlier today and having everybody here. So again, thank you. I'm going to move on. We've got an approval of the agenda. Everybody hopefully has had a chance to look at it. Any changes that people would like to make?
Nope.
Nope.
All right.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Okay, Barry makes the motion.
Second.
Okay, Beth beat Colleen to the point. Beth seconds, so we're going to do a roll call, seeing that we're online here. Jess?
Aye.
Barry?
Aye.
Beth?
Yes.
Colleen?
Aye.
Julie?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
All right, and then the chair says aye, so it's motion passed. Next, we've got the minutes. Hopefully, everybody had a chance to review them. There's only one correction that I do have, is the date on the minutes should read for January 3rd, 2024, not January.
Yeah, I
4th.
caught that after I sent it. So yeah, I've got that corrected.
All right, that sounds great. That's the only thing that I had. I thought, as always, Jess, you do a great job of giving the breakdown and the background. So, anybody else have any things that they may have saw on the minutes?
No, I have not.
No? All right. Can I hear a motion to accept the minutes as amended?
So move.
All right, Barry first,
Second.
Colleen seconds. Let's do roll call. Jess,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
Beth,
Yes.
Colleen,
Aye.
Julie,
Yes.
and Jason.
Yes.
All right, and chair says aye, motion passed. Great. Correspondence and invoices, other than the applications that we're going to be reviewing and such, I don't have anything else of correspondence or inventory or invoices. All right. Moving on. Go ahead.
Is it okay?
Okay. All right. I'm just going to go through, because I know we've got a lot new business. An old business. I could have done this as part of a committee report, but I think it's important to let you guys all know that I spoke at the select board meeting yesterday as wearing the head of the Affordable Housing Committee chair, with regards to the update of the working group. Again, this is the working group that I've asked other committees to join, other committees and boards to join in, so that we can look at ways to get more affordable housing, a type of inventory, an increased inventory of housing within the community, so that we're able to look at the zoning bylaws to see if there's ways that, again, I teased last night that this working group has given the planning board a lot of work, because we're looking at those zoning bylaws to see if there's something that we can do within the inclusionary housing section, so that we can then use the guidelines for Massachusetts buildings on how to set the standards for affordable housing. And instead of doing a restriction of the 750 square foot, it's more of the restriction of the size of the bedroom, the size of the living room, and such. And again, this is all within the inclusionary housing because of trying to increase the affordable housing units within the town. And then the other thing is we were looking at the table of use regulations, that table just in the residential part, to see if there's some way that we can make sure that items are more uniform so that the form-based code stays consistent within that table, as well as, the permitted process. And one thing that I emphasized is, when it's a permitted process, whether it's a special permit from the zoning board or the planning board or just to permit it. We've got a full staff for the building commissioner, as well as a full town planner, a full-time town planner, and we have the individuals downtown. So it's nice to know that town hall are able to go ahead and work on it. It was 4 volunteers that are on this working group: Ken Diskin, Nathan King, Dave Seaborg, myself, as well as 3 town hall employees of, just like 3 plus a half. I have to call Mike Wallace. And you got Charlie Schultz, you've got Alicia Hershey, as well as Danny Ruiz. So with that, we've had some pretty good feedback. So I'll be making a bigger presentation on the 13th. So February 13th at the planning board, to go a little more into the detail. So I wanted to give the group an update, let you know that I'm going to pretty much every single committee that will be somewhat affected by it, to give them this little quasi update. Any questions that you might have had, that, have you heard of anybody from the meeting yesterday or anything? Anybody have any questions? No?
When are you looking to propose potential changes, if anything would come?
Well,
from
it
the-
has to go, the changes have to come. I mean, all we're doing is telling them like our recommendations. On the planning board, I'm going to be talking to them on the 13th. Then it's all theirs. They're the ones who have to go ahead, possibly, evaluate the changes that we're recommending, and then they've got to do the public hearing and all that. So that's why I'm trying to get it done as quick as possible, so that we're able to maybe get something on the warrant for Springtown meeting. Does that help?
So that it might come before the town for Springtown meeting.
It might. So there'll be a public hearing probably sometime in March for them.
When does the warrant close?
End of March.
Okay.
I got that, Robert. I remembered. Yeah, end of March. Okay.
All right. Thanks for the update.
All right, no problem.
Mhm.
All right, and seeing that we're trying to make sure that committees are all involved with what's going on, Dan asked to come in. I'm going on to new business now. Make a presentation with regards to stormwater, correct, Dan?
That is correct. Yeah, so I have a quick presentation. I won't take too much of the committee's time. Let me share my screen. I'll get into it. I think you can all see that.
Not yet. Yep.
Oh, there we go. All right. Okay. Slideshow. Okay. So I really appreciate you letting me in here. And, it's not just me. So I know most of you, but if those of you who don't know me, I'm Dan Van Scalquick, the DPW director for the town. Here also from the Stormwater Utility Advisory Work Group is Heather Hampson, the conservation agent, and Beth Sudemeyer, who, thank you, Beth, for your volunteerism on the work group. And both of you guys feel free to chime in as I go through the presentation. But why I'm really here as part of the work group is just to spread the word about what this work group is doing and what's related to stormwater and the funding of the town's stormwater. program maintenance. And so some of you might be aware of this already, but I'll kind of just get this going and feel free to spread the word to others in town about this as we go along. I'm going to be going around to various boards and committees with some of the other work group members to get this word spreaded. So let's dive in. So, this is informational about the evaluation of a stormwater enterprise fund. And what's been done, there's a stormwater utility advisory work group that's been set up. And that work group is reporting to the select board with recommendations as it goes through this process of evaluating a potential stormwater enterprise fund. So just quickly, stormwater is just rain, right? So I got to give kudos to Jonathan Krantz for setting up this slide. He's on the work group. He's also on the planning board. But, undeveloped land, you kind of picture what if humans weren't here and we didn't develop the land? What would it be like? You would have, vegetation, trees, grass, brush, everything else. And when the rain falls, it would get absorbed and taken into those, those characteristics. So human development, we have areas, roads, impervious areas that take stormwater. It doesn't go right into the ground. And it can carry pollutants with it and be, and head into our waterways. So it's something we have to, deal with. So Ayer's responsibilities in brief, regulatory wise, Ayer is regulated by the EPA. It's what's called an MS4 community, municipal separate storm sewer system. So EPA has the town has an MS4 permit from EPA, and basically it's permitting our stormwater discharges. And I'll get a little more into some of the program we have to implement for that. Ayer, the town itself, infrastructure-wise, here's some numbers here: 22 miles of drainage pipe, over 1,000 catch basins, almost 400 drain manholes, 143 outfalls, 84 culverts, believe it or not. So, some of these are small, little 12-inch pipes, but we also have some that go almost up to 10 feet in span. And then we have, the latest trend, and I wouldn't call it a trend, but in the past several years, as people realize it's important for treating stormwaters, we do now have what's called best management practices. So detention basins, treatment units, other forms of treatment to treat the stormwater before it goes to our waterways, and we have to care for those items. This is probably looks like a lot, but this is our stormwater MS4 map. And you can see kind of the ponds are color coded here. It's probably the first thing that jumps out to you. And what's that indicating is impaired waters, and it's color coded that way. So many of them don't have the impairment fully defined, but as we go on in time and our MS4 permit with EPA, those will probably become more defined, and they'll be regulated and what the town can be discharging to those waterways. So just to show, not every pond is crisp and clean with, the stormwater that gets discharged to it. So we have to treat for it. And, you can see our piping network downtown a little bit in the orange here. So it's very more dense downtown. And then we have our more rural type areas outside of town. Next, so a brief overview of the MS4 program. So there's really 5 parts to the program that the town has to implement, and you probably see occasionally public education and outreach. We might have a post on our Zoom or our X, formerly Twitter account, just talking about only rain down the drain, things like that. So there's public education outreach component. There's a lot to that, more than what I was just talking about with posting. Illicit discharge detection and elimination. So essentially anything but rain going down the drain. We got to look for these things that could be getting into our stormwater system. There are some exemptions. For example, if there was like a fire and the fire department used water and some of that water carried some pollutants down the drain, that's exempt because obviously that's a public safety issue. But in general, anything other than rain, we don't want going down our drains. Local oversight of construction sites. So any ongoing construction work, the town has skin in the game to be a steward of those construction sites and make sure they have proper stormwater controls. Local permitting for new development and redevelopment to control stormwater runoff. So that's kind of in a similar boat to what I was just discussing. And then the fifth part of the MS4 is our good housekeeping, pollution prevention. So keeping up with our system maintenance and inspection, sweeping our streets routinely, cleaning our catch basins routinely. Those are items we have to adhere to. What we've been doing so far, what the town of Ayer has been doing. So the historic funding approach for the town has been to maintain its stormwater fund by allocating funds from the general fund. So i.e. that's the tax base. So currently all our stormwater work, our improvements, they're all funded from the tax base. It's in the DPW operating budget. There is also a few capital items we do as well that come through the capital program. Historic maintenance approach. So we've had over time, a reactive approach, repairing infrastructure when it becomes a problem. Recently we had a pipe fail up near Upper Pleasant Street, near 100 Pleasant Street. So we had to do a replacement there. We have an issue at Linden Court right now, which we're going to have to address next year. Bly Street, there's an issue going on, and Devon's Crest has had issues, which we've kind of limped along. So it's been a very reactive approach to things. One of the reasons for that is the second bullet here. The town's record information of the stormwater system was very poor. So, not knowing what you have, how are you gonna care for it? But we do have, in future slide, I'll show you, we know a little more now. So there's just an image from one of our reports of an RCP, a concrete pipe in good condition. And on the right, you have corrugated metal pipe, which the town does have a decent amount of this in town, which tends to degrade faster than your concrete or your plastic. So what we've been doing so far recently in 2021 to 2022, the town created a stormwater asset management plan. So the plan includes an evaluation of, it was a portion of our stormwater system, not the whole thing, to understand what's out there. And it also provides an asset management based approach based on the criticality of the assets. So, a culvert over Groton School Road, one of the main corridors in town, versus a culvert on a dead end street, which one's more critical? So obviously the one on the main road. So it takes into account many factors such as that, as well as the condition, to develop this proactive asset management based approach to maintain our stormwater. So, and recently too, the EPA modified the MS4 permit in 2016. That really didn't go into effect until 2018, and now we're in 2024. So there is knowledge that there will be a modification to the permit coming out perhaps within the next year. So we're keeping an eye on that. And obviously there'll be more stringent regulations. They don't ever get any easier. And then also select board and the town meeting authorized funding to evaluate the Stormwater Enterprise Fund, aka a utility fund, sort of similar to our water and sewer enterprise funds we have, but for our stormwater system. So, why now? Why are we looking at this? Many of the reasons on the previous slides, but also anticipating impacts of climate change. You can see some of the pictures on the left from Leominster this past year where they had the flooding issues. It comes down to some of the simple things of public safety, preserving private property, homes and businesses, maintaining transportation and transit, economic continuity, and also, maintaining our infrastructure, being proactive. So this is actually a picture of a culvert over James Brook on Groton School Road. And you can see this is, I don't even know the age of it. It's similar to the West Main Bridge construction, which was circa 1900. So I'm guessing it's on the older side. As you can tell, it's all built by with stone boulders. So we need to address that. Let's see. So revenue projections in the 5-year average. So based on the stormwater asset management plan we've got, and taking a proactive approach, we've built a projected budget for FY 25 to 28. You can see we weren't spending a heck of a lot on stormwater from FY 19 through 23, but we're sort of upping it here to get toward this proactive approach. One thing I'll note, the large FY26 expense is a proposed culvert improvement, and that would be the James Brook culvert. So that's why these are going to be coming down the pipeline, large culvert costs that have just been neglected for years. So the group, what are Ayer's options? What are we looking at? So there's really two ways the town could fund it. We could continue with the general fund through the tax base, or the town can look at setting up an independent enterprise fund. So like I said, similar to our water and sewer utilities. So, the enterprise fund that's being evaluated, what are the advantages of that? So it can help with our sustainable long-term funding to meet the program goals. Our asset management plan we put together has a replacement value of our drainage system over $90 million. And what do we have in reserves for that right now? We're in the operating budget. Our small MS4 general permit expected more stringent requirements as we go forward. One of the things that the enterprise fund would help is it would also give private property. It would kind of give the town some incentives if there's stormwater fees being paid by a private property to the town. We could have a credit policy if they take care of treating stormwater on their site, and also at the same time help us meet our MS4 general permit for the town. More benefits of the Stormwater Enterprise Fund: it's stable, dedicated revenue source, equitable and fair. So it's based on the stormwater impact of a property as opposed to property value, the taxes. So that's kind of how it's being set up. Currently the work group's looking at basing it on impervious area, and that's typically how that's done. I'll get into that in a future slide. Flexible, utility can pay for all aspects of the program. And I did just mention a credit policy. So if a large property had a stormwater fee and they installed stormwater treatment units and detention on their property, maybe there's a credit policy that could be built in so they could get the reduced fee. So this is all things that the work group is currently working on. Regional stormwater utilities. So it's not a new concept. There's about 2,000 in the US. There's 20 plus in Massachusetts. This was just as of December 2022. Some of the ones nearby: Westford, Pepperell, Chelmsford. And it must be a clear nexus among program cost of service, user fees, and customer benefits. That's what these utilities will really help pull together. And like I had mentioned, impervious area, it's the most commonly used method to assess the stormwater fees, because where the significant stormwater impacts are going to come from areas of large imperviousness. So the runoff is not going to enter the ground; it's going to flow somewhere and impact it. So next steps and timeline: convene an advisory work group. Check. Refine budget projections. That's pretty much a check. And what the work group is currently looking at is the rate structure of a stormwater utility fund, and alternatives that can be for discussion. So it's currently working on a rate structure. Right now it's based off impervious area and having a fee for a single residential house, typical residential house. I won't get too in the weeds on that. Town council guidance. Town council would be involved for any bylaws, regulations, and the town meeting warrant if it gets to there. Outreach plan and schedule. So that's what I'm doing tonight with Heather here as well from the work group. Just getting the word out. Develop and distribute educational materials. Stakeholder workshop. We'll be having that. Additional meetings with the select board. And there's really a lot more outreach we have planned. It's all up on the website. I'm going to show you the website in a minute. So right now the work group is aiming for consideration at the fall town meeting, if this was to make it that far. And then also developing its credit policy and abatement. That'll be part of the work group's work right now. So the website is listed here. It's Stormwater Utility Advisory Work Group. Basically, if you go onto the town's website and go under committees and then stormwater, it'll show up. Also, additional info. The website again is listed here, and there's a QR code as well to get into it. Currently, the work group's meeting in a hybrid format monthly, and those meetings are posted as well. And some of the public has been joining, which is nice to see. And also, I just want to put a plug in on February 28th at 6 p.m. at the Ayer Library. There's going to be a presentation on the importance of stormwater, and that's going to be done by Stephanie Covino of the Blackstone Watershed Collaborative. So keep an eye out for that promotion. Questions for the work group, you can send them to me. I'm always open and available, and I can forward them to the work group, and we can get back to everyone. And just real quick, I just wanted to also show the website so you can see our repository. Share my screen again. Share.
While you're doing that, Dan, is this presentation available on this as well?
I can I can make it available. I'll get it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll post it up here on the Stormwater Utility Workgroup website, and I'll send it out to Carly and Cindy as well to get out.
Excellent, thank
But
you.
yeah, so this is the web page I was talking about. It's really the repository for us. So work group agendas, we have agendas, presentations that are given at any of our meetings, and meeting highlights, and any of our work group notes. It's really, everything's out there. Kind of will show what we've been looking at for a rate structure. We have a draft frequently asked questions document already posted up here. So the work group's moving along, and like I said, it would be, something much later this year towards town meeting that, would be the aim, the fall town meeting. So hope I didn't take up too much time. That was kind of longer than I expected. I apologize, but any questions you could ask now, or just shoot them to me later.
One quick one. The MS4 permit from the EPA, is that federal or state?
That's federal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Massachusetts is actually quite unique. A lot of states have it administered. While it's required through the federal government, it's administered at the state level, but in Massachusetts, it's still actually administered by the EPA, which is somewhat unique, but adds some kind of nuance to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Beth. Yeah.
Isn't that what makes Massachusetts special? We do try to keep things unique. Mhm.
Thank you, Dan and Heather, for sharing information about the projects and the working group.
Yeah.
It's
No, thank you.
been-
Yeah. Spread the word, and thank you too, Beth, for your help on the group.
Yeah, and look forward to reading some of it because I want to try to see how I can get a credit. All right. Anything else from anybody? Public? No? All right, Dan, thank you very much, and Heather and Beth, good job as well.
Thank you.
Really do appreciate it. All right, thanks. Okay, then I'm going to keep moving on. Next, I believe Carolyn is here from Habitat for Humanity. We're going to start reviewing the requests for funding. I'm trying to see. There you are. Okay. I know it. The screens move and it's like,
I know.
all right. Do you have I have the presentation ready to, the application. I
Okay.
do have it ready to go if you want me to go ahead and share it. Hopefully it's supposed to be here. Where'd it go? Select the window. All right, bear with me.
I do have a short presentation summarizing it if you want me to do
All right,
that.
well, go ahead. I'll let you do that if people want to, yeah, and I'll get the form up there. Go ahead, please, Carolyn.
Okay. All right. Can everyone see it okay?
Yes.
All right, so much for letting me be here today and for allowing my application. Um, just a very quick review of Habitat. Our vision is a world where everyone has a decent place to live, and our mission is to bring people together to build homes, communities, and hope. So when we build a house, we partner very closely with the community, as you all know, because we've done it a couple times before. So we were established, every Habitat office is an independent affiliate. Our affiliate covers 30 cities and towns from Acton out to Athol, and Ayer is kind of in the middle of that. And our strategy is to build at least 2 new homes and repair at least 24 in our region. We have a pretty small staff still because, as you know, we build mostly with volunteers, and we have been partnering with the trade schools for all of our builds, and it's been a fantastic partnership. It allows us to build a lot more. So a summary that was in the application for eligibility. A lot was donated by Main Street Bank. So they had owned it for a number of years. They had taken it in foreclosure. And so we closed on it on December 29th. So it's pretty recent. Our plan is to build a townhouse style duplex. And we're working with Re-Architect right in Ayer on the plan for that. And we're a little bit modeling it on a duplex, which was a side-by-side colonial townhouse style duplex that we built about 7 years ago in Fitchburg. So that home has 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. The one in Fitchburg had a bath and a half, but we've standardized on 2 bathrooms because we find that works much better. And it's about 1,100 square feet. It will be compatible with the character of the neighborhood. It will meet the requirements for 60% glazing on the first floor. And we do meet the stretch energy code. Our last 7 homes have had solar panels. So if we're able to do that with the way the sun is on that lot, we will do that. No matter what, it will be all electric, meeting the stretch energy code with lots of extra insulation to keep the housing costs for the homeowners very low. Our homes are available to families earning less than 60% of area median income. On average, our families earn about half of area median income. And in addition to meeting the income guidelines, that's the first requirement. They also have to have a need for housing and a willingness to partner. We still require that a single adult family puts in 200 hours of sweat equity, and a 2 adult family has 350 hours of sweat equity helping to build the house. We would like to apply for approval as a LIP LAU as opposed to a 40B, just because it's a closer partnership with the town. And that's worked really well for us working with you before. So we'd like to do it that way again. We will use the deed rider from HLC, as well as an approved marketing plan to make sure it does get on the SHI. I have already talked to Neshoba Valley Tech. They're very excited to work with us and would love to start in September if we're able to make that all work. And the funds that we're requesting are for building materials. This is a picture, which I'll get a better one, but this is the picture of Google Maps. So it's that lot behind the gray car between the church and the house. And you know what? I have here the housing production plan, and there's our other house right there. But this is that same house, and you can see the inside of that house as well. So it's finished very nicely, but not high end. This in really, really tiny font is our pro forma budget. So we're expecting this based on costs from the houses we built this year. We're expecting it to be about $400,000 for the duplex. And then this was the floor plan from the house that we built in Fitchburg. So the first floor, you walked in through a little porch, and it had a kitchen area, steps to the basement, and the second floor in the middle, and then a kitchen in the back. And this had, as I said, the half bath on the first floor, but we'll make that into a full bath. And we probably will not do decks on the back, but we will have some second means of egress back there. And then on the top floor, we had 3 bedrooms. And then this would be the schedule. We would love to be permitted by May or so, do all the site work this summer so that we can partner with the school for the year and finish it by next June. So that's our goal with the project. And that would mean generally we open family selection when we get permitted. So we would open it in the June, July timeframe. We just selected the family yesterday for the home we're building in Leominster, and we had 45 applicants, which was
Wow.
really sad. So I'm very much looking forward to building a duplex and be able to at least house 2 more families as quick as we can. So that was a quick summary.
All right.
I can stop sharing if you want to go.
All right, yeah, let me see if I can share. Let me pull this up. And everybody see the application itself? Can you see that?
Yes.
All right. So with the application, they're looking for CPA funding of $75,000 per home. And with it being a duplex, the total amount is $150,000. I don't think I need to go through the rest of, the description or how it's going to benefit Ayer. I think we all know that with the successful Habitat for Humanity houses, one on Shirley Street and the other one on Central, or the other duplex on Central Ave, they have been very well received and such. So I think, again, I can go down further, but the applications themselves are out on the website, and also too, there are some hard copies over at the town clerk's office, and they, like I say, they have them available as well. Any questions from the committee?
No, it's a good project.
Yeah, none from me. I mean, I'm satisfied with it.
As am I.
All right.
I'm very excited to hear and grateful for Habitat coming back to Ayer. Looking forward to the project coming to fruition. I did wonder about the plans for just like if you have any renderings. I know it's probably still early. This is just a very, very visible location in town, and I don't mean that in a discouraging way at all, just that we do want to ensure that it fits into the neighborhood. It's a fairly small parcel, and matching it to the aesthetic of the street and the neighborhood is very important. And then we're all interested in making sure that all of our houses represent Ayer well, and that the families that live there are well served with something that looks good and is durable for them and everything. So if you do have a bit of a rendering, or like the photos of the model house that you said that you might be basing it on, that might be helpful. And then I was wondering about the permit requirements for the project. You mentioned permitting, but I don't think with a lot of detail. So I'm just curious what would be involved.
So we have presented we did meet with the ZBA, because at first we thought that we would need a variance or a change to zoning. But then we heard from the planning board through the building inspector that it is actually, we're going to be able to build by right. So the permitting should be fairly simplistic. So it shouldn't take a lot of time, and we shouldn't need any variances to be able to do that. So the building inspector has been involved and has assured us of that. And if you give me a minute, I'll see if I can bring up a rendering of the house that we did on Oakland Street in Fitchburg. And just note that this one is going to be, instead, that one, the way the land was, we had to do it longer and skinnier, and we're going to do the opposite here. So it's going to have to go back from the street a little bit more based on the land. So it might take me a minute to find it.
I think the houses on that street are built above each other. The units, the 2-family and the 3-family are stacked instead of being side by side. Is that where you were going with, Beth?
We were, oh yeah, go ahead.
No. I didn't know, to try to keep with the neighborhood.
Yeah, more just the aesthetic. I mean, I know there's a nice front porch on the one house, and you've got the details of the church, next door, so just fitting into the neighborhood with the aesthetic. I think that in the downtown area, we've had some really sort of recent additions that don't fit into the historic character of our neighborhood. And, just really hoping that we can put more thought into that, with selection of type of home design and things like that.
So Janet, next step would be to have a public hearing in March?
March. What I'd like to try to do is have the public hearing in March for our meeting. And depending upon, the feedback from there, bring it to Springtown meeting for the request of $150,000 underneath the community housing. So those would be our next steps.
Yeah, and Carolyn, you can send an email with the image, and then just plan to maybe show it in the public hearing presentation might be
Okay.
helpful.
I think
I
that
do-
would, yeah.
I do also have it up, Janet. I think you would need to stop sharing.
All yours.
So that was basically what it looked like. Doesn't show the railings, but there were railings on the front porches. And so it's going to actually, it would look similar to what is, the facade would look similar to what's on Central Ave. And I'm happy to take feedback on that if shutters would fit in.
But you're saying that it would not be as wide as this one in front, right? Is that?
Yes, it would
Okay.
definitely need to be that it would have to go back farther. The length would have to be more than the width, which was the opposite of what we needed to do on this property.
Yeah, I think looking at the house right next door with the porch, kind of mimicking that makes sense, because they will be, so close to each other. And but yeah, I think, like seeing that this has the porch and everything too is nice.
Right, excellent.
That's great feedback. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I think, I'll take a vote from the groups, but I didn't know if there was anybody from the public. I noticed Pauline is here, and I know Pauline is a advocate of Habitat. Yep, I see the hand up. Go ahead, Pauline.
Thank you, Janet. I just want to thank everybody on this meeting for their support for these projects, because Ayer will have 5 Habitat homes. And I don't know, Carolyn, is there another town in the NCM area that has that many, that is this size?
No, not even close. Yeah,
So-
Bedford has more, but yeah, Air will win. Yeah.
Kudos to us, right? Thank you so
Absolutely.
much, Carolyn, for all you do.
Agreed.
Mhm.
Yep. Yep. And then one good thing is it is in the downtown area, so that will take care of, and I know that I'm going to mess it up, but being close to the train and such, so it's part of that community that needs to be.
MBTA communities. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it started with an M, and it's like, no, it's not municipal, but MBTA made sense. So yes, it will be part of that. And with it being a LIP unit, it'll be part of our SHR, our inventory. So it's going to be a win-win all the way around. If there's no other discussion, can I hear a motion of accepting this and moving it to a public hearing for our March meeting?
Just one just minor question about the deed restriction. Would be a perpetual
Yep.
Do you-
It'll be in perpetuity. Yep.
Yep, great, thank you. So I would move to advance to the next stage of holding the public hearing.
All right, Beth makes the motion. Anyone second?
Second,
Jess seconds. Let's do a roll call. See if I can get this. Jess,
aye.
Beth,
Yes.
Colleen,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
Jason,
Yes.
and Julie.
Yes.
Aye, and chair says aye. I think I got everybody, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep. All right, so our next meeting in March, I believe, is March
Should be the 7th.
7th as well. Yeah, I was gonna say, usually they fall side by side. Yep, March 7th and, no, March 6th. It's gonna be March 6th for Wednesday. So with that, we'll go ahead and I'll put it in the newspaper 2 weeks beforehand, as well as, we'll have it probably starting, approximately 7:05, because we usually focus right in on the public hearings and everything. So look forward to seeing you then again, Carolyn, and
Wonderful.
with the renditions, and I think we're gonna be good. Awesome.
Thank you so much.
All right, thanks too. Okay,
Thank
All right.
you.
take care. All right, now, moving on, I wrote down that's a review request from Air Town Hall, which happens to be our own one and only Robert, our town manager, and he has a request, because he made a presentation last night with regards to 71 Sandy Pond Road and acquiring that property. Robert, I'll let you take it from here.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair and members of the CPC. Good evening. And the DPW director, Dan, has been working on this as well. So he's going to stick around, and we have a couple of slides he's going to help me with. And I don't know if the chair got our sort of pre-information to you, but I will get right to it. So I'm before you on behalf of the Air Select Board with an opportunity for the town that is somewhat time sensitive, in that things are in motion for the annual town meeting on April 22nd of this year. But very recently, as some of you are aware, the private owner developer of 71 Sandy Pond Road, which is a 2.86 acre site that's across from the town beach. It's basically at the intersection of Sandy Pond and Snake Hill, and we'll pull up some photos in just a minute. Is planning to develop that property for private residential purposes. Initially, he wanted to develop with two family duplexes. Recently, as we were developing this, he went to the ZBA, which has denied that special permit at this time. It may be subject to appeal, which is his right. He has indicated that ultimately, if he can't do the two-family duplex, he'd be moving forward with a single family residential development. He did approach the town recently, asking if the town would be interested in purchasing the property. And the select board, there was a series of executive session negotiations that did culminate in a purchase and sale agreement, which you have. And I don't know if Janet has sent the packet to everybody. This is part of the presentation at the select board last night, and is also on the website, both on your page and the select board page. But a purchase and sale agreement to purchase the site for $700,000, contingent upon the following. One is contingent upon the approval of town meeting. So the purchase and sale would have to be authorized by town meeting, and the private owner and developer understands that. Secondly, all of the structures on the property would be demolished and removed, and everything would be filled and leveled to grade, obviously with the appropriate fill and so forth. The town will need to do its environmental due diligence, which is required by CPC as well. And so at the term of the purchase and sale, we would have a completely sort of flat lot to grade. Why is it? I just want to point out a couple things that's in the materials. One is there is no definitive plan for the property at this time, with the exception that its future, if town meeting decides to proceed, would be for open space, recreation, park purposes. And I made it clear last night, this is not site is not intended for the senior center project, as this site has previously been looked at way back in the site process, and it doesn't meet the criteria for that. So as you'll see in the materials, I really want to stress that the first step is the opportunity, whether the town wants to proceed in acquiring it, which would be consistent with master plan and open space and rec plan for the town, both of those, in the sense that we all know that land is at a premium, especially for open space, park, and recreation purposes. If the town were to decide to purchase it, of course, the appropriate public process with public input and so forth as a town would come forth as to exactly what could be done there in the future. The reality is it's an opportunity that's before us with a short window. If the town meeting decides, no, this is not, worth the 700,000, or we're not, and town meeting decides that, then the developer understands that, and he'll proceed to develop a residential unit or units on the site. If the town decides to grab this opportunity, many of us, including the select board, see a lot of future benefit and future opportunity for the town to decide. So lastly, if I could just quickly, and I appreciate everybody's patience, and I know don't want to go on and on, but Dan, can you pull up those slides? So and I want to stress, these are conceptual renderings that were done by the DPW engineering just to get people's minds going and so forth. There are no plans. We don't have to do this. So we'll just go through these quickly. So this shows you an aerial view of the parcel. It's 2.86 acres, as I mentioned. A lot of the material, the vehicles and everything you see in this aerial photo, many of you are familiar with, have already been removed, and the house structure would be completely removed, and this portion of it would be leveled to grade. And just before we get to the next site, we also see some exciting opportunities that the DPW director can speak to with the Sandy Pond Safe Streets and Complete Streets initiative, crossings and other improvements that are secondary to the main potential benefits of open space, recreation, park use. Dan, can you just do the next one?
You want me to go to the next slide, or?
Yeah, please.
Okay, sure.
Sorry, can I just get clarification?
Yeah.
It appears on the assessor's maps that the parcel goes further, like is a deeper parcel going back, a flag-shaped parcel.
Yes.
Is it truncated at the red line that was shown here?
No, I'm
ahead.
pretty sure it does go back, Beth. I think that was erroneous.
Yeah.
We can confirm, but I'm pretty sure it goes back.
It does go back, but I'm just wondering if the area in red is the area that would be leveled to grade.
Yeah, I'll have to ask Matt, the town engineer, you put it together, but yeah, Jess, you're kind of right. As you head back there, it's mostly wetlands. You can't really see much on here, but down the pole of the flag. So the area that would really be improved is sort of up in the front where it's highlighted here, where the building is and all those vehicles and equipment.
Thank you.
Okay.
Just wanted to clarify.
Yep. And then this is just a street view. Many of you are familiar. Again, almost all of the vehicles and things have already been removed. There's pretty much the house, again, per the purchase and sale, all of that would be removed and filled with clean fill and graded to street. And of course, we have to do as we do with any property acquisition, the environmental analysis. And then the next shot, the next image, just again, closer to that main area. And Beth, thank you for bringing up in just the point. It's more of like a flag shaped, but that just shows sort of the existing house. It's a little bit older photo, cleaned up. Next, Dan. This was the conceptual proposal of the proposed duplexes that the developer wanted to put. Since then, his special permit to the ZBA has been denied. It's still in an appeal period, which would be his right if he wants to appeal. If he doesn't, he wouldn't be able to bring back application for 2 years for a duplex, but he has informally indicated that he would look then to develop a single family house there. So there has been some changes on that. Next. These are all just conceptual. Again, I thank DPW, Dan, Matt, and Delaney in the engineering division. Again, the sky is the limit, I would say, for the town, but just for some thoughts, I mean, here is just some parking in open space. One of the things too we could consider if the town acquired it initially, just interim briefly, maybe for the first beach season or until things are developed, some parking could be done there. But as the select board said last night, we don't want to, it's not about another parking lot at all, but it's just one scenario. The next, Dan, and these are just this one here, looking at some more parking, and then you can see like there's a picnic area and like a storage area for parks and a changing area. And again, maybe there's some, other use. And then number 3 is a much larger sort of park area. The box is like some type of a pavilion. There could be a picnic area. There could be playground. It could be open space. There could be the general theme though is open space, parks, and recreation. There's not, again, any plan for a municipal building. And as I already mentioned, the senior center wouldn't be viable. Is that the 3 of them, I think, Dan? Is there one more?
Yeah. Matt had put together one more.
Yeah, and then again, number 4. And this was just to visually just orientate and get people thinking. You can see there's wetlands that to the west of that. So, Madam Chair, just to conclude sort of on my presentation, so where it stands is there is a purchase and sale agreement in place, which you have in the packet. That would have to be, as I mentioned, authorized by town meeting. As far as the funding for the 700,000, at least initially, conceptually, the thought was of 350,000 from CPC in the open space recreation categories, and then the balance, the 350,000, when I say from town funds, either the Urban Development Action Grant, the UDAG funds, and then those would be replenished at a future town meeting, maybe some ARPA funding or combination thereof, and the select board will be finalizing that town side of the funding, and on their behalf before you this evening for your consideration for 350,000 from open space and recreation. And then lastly, if approved by town meeting per the purchase and sale agreement, the execution of the sale and the transfer of the property would happen within 60 days of town meeting approval per the purchase and sale. So with that, I'm sure there are questions Madam Chair, I appreciate the committee's time and especially on a short window, and sometimes opportunities just present themselves. I will say, and I don't say this lightly, I know that the $700,000 figure for the 2.86 acres, it's a considerable sum. In your packet, you will see the building commissioner did do two a cost analysis of the property. For the single family property, you're looking at somewhere between 800 to 850,000 in value, and there's another one in there when it was the duplex. So again, we're paying. It's the strategic location of the site and the value to the future. So with
Right.
that, I thank you, Madam Chair.
No, thank you for that update too, Robert. One thing, Dan, you did speak about at the select board meeting last night is with the smart street and all the work
Yeah.
that's being done. I don't know whether you've spoken, like say, with Jeff Thomas, because I know that you did, mention that since there's going to be new paths, new walkways, there's going to be other traffic signals, the walkway with the
Yeah.
lights. If you want to bring the group a little bit up to
Yeah.
speed on that.
Yeah, I can speak to that briefly. Excuse me, sorry. Maybe why don't I share sort of the image again, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Might be easier to have a visual when I'm talking about it.
Because I know that the Park and Rec is looking to redo either rehab or rebuild the
Yeah.
bathhouse that's there. So,
Yeah.
Right. And Madam Chair, just before Dan, just so the CPC knows, the Park and Rec Director and the Chair of the Parks Commission are aware of this, and I'm going to the next Parks Commission meeting to meet with the whole commission to further discuss this. But the chair and the director were receptive to a lot of the possibilities. So Dan,
that's,
go ahead.
that's good to know.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I can comment too when you're done, Dan, and I have a question, but
Yeah.
when from a parks perspective, when you're done. Sorry.
No, it's great, Jason. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Briefly. So last year, the town engineer submitted and the town was awarded a $500,000 grant from Complete Streets to install a complete street from the Snake Hill Road, Sandy Pond Road intersection eastward to Patriot Way. And that's kind of phase one of a project. We want to make a connection all the way to Westford Road eventually, but it's pretty expensive, so we're doing it in phases. So $500,000 we have to get that done. We're also looking for a little more money from another pot, but that's aside the point. So essentially, the complete street, we have designed it. We did have a consultant assist with the concepts, and then we did the furthering of the design in-house. But it's going to include, right now we have a sidewalk on the north side of the road on Sandy Pond Road, which then connects to the beach area, but we don't have anything on the south side. So basically we'll continue that sidewalk on the north side in this area, and then it's going to hop over to the south side. Actually, I think it does come across right here. So it'll be on the south side here, sorry, not on the north side, and continue along Sandy Pond Road. And so we'll also be kind of reconfiguring this intersection a little bit to make it at a more of a proper angle. You can see it's got a sweeping curve right here. So this will be kind of angled off, and it'll give a little more green space and maybe even more room as the parks is considering what it's doing on its property. As we mentioned, the beach house there is old, and we just parks just had an evaluation done for potentially replacing or just improving the beach house that's there. So kind of this, before the 71 Sandy Pond Road came about, we had all these projects sort of in motion. But the good thing is we haven't constructed anything yet. We've designed it, but as the town's sort of considering what to do with 71 Sandy Pond Road, we can consider that with our complete street project and sort of tie in sidewalk, et cetera, and make a good connection, from 71 Sandy Pond Road over to the beach. and kind of as you mentioned, Janet, as we tighten up the road here and we make this crosswalk not as long, that in one makes it safer, but we'll also be putting in rectangular rapid flashing beacons. So those are those crosswalks you see like on East Main Street near the library and the courthouse where you push the button and they flash. So, bit improvements to safety, improvements to accessibility for all modes of travel, et cetera. And then, so one other thing to note is that this area, when was designated a few years ago by the town, the police, the select board, and the DPW as a quote unquote safety zone. It's a new thing that MassDOT allows towns to do. And so what it does, it allows the town to reduce the speed limit in this area because it's sensitive with the beach there to 20 miles per hour. So at the same time, when we're instituting all these upgrades for the Complete Street project, we'll also be putting in proper signage, speed feedback signs to also reduce the traffic speed in the area down to 20 mile per hour speed limit. So it's going to be a much different area and another in a short time. So yeah, I think that was it. And I think Robert, you did a great job. Just 71 Sandy Pond Road, it's essentially a blank canvas for the town as an open space recreation in a good location. So I think that's all I had.
All right, great. I wanted to make sure that people were aware of those changes that are going to be occurring. And if anything, this ends up being a perfect time to put all that together and be able to build on that blank canvas. So I know I've got a couple questions. If it doesn't pass that first phase of the 21E, again, I haven't really come across this, but does it go back to the owner saying you need to clean up this beforehand, before the town will go ahead and purchase it? Robert?
Madam Chair, yes, I mean, as part of our due diligence, as you're aware, is we have to make sure that the 21E, the environmental, whether it's phase one, and then if it goes to a phase two, that it meets those standards. The town does not want to take on any environmental or hazard liability. Now, we're about to start that process. We know, at least historically, but we got to do the due diligence, that it seems like that it's been a residential house for years back. I mean, old timers talk about there was a candy store there or what have you. There's no initial evidence it was not a rail yard or what have you. One of the concerns, though, is many are familiar with the site. For many years, there was a lot of vehicles and so forth stored there. But yeah, one of the part of the due diligence is to get the clarity on the environmental piece.
Mm-hmm. And that's the owner who's got to clean it up if there is something found.
Right. We would be hard pressed. We would not move forward with an environmental unknown or environmental issues. It would not be in the town's best interest.
Okay, all right, that's good to know.
Could I
With
ask a
that,
question related to that, which would be when an environmental review couldn't be done until after town meeting though, right? Or could it be done in advance?
We're going to do the phase one. The goal is to do that in advance.
Okay,
With the phase one, though, they're not doing any testing. So if they look at it and
Right.
see that's historically a residential area or a house,
Right.
unless we tell them, hey, look, there's been 100 million cars parked there, then we should be okay with that.
Mhm.
They would really only test as if they saw it was like a dry cleaner at one point or a gas station or something like that.
Correct. Right. The phase one is the standard, meaning obviously if the phase one, and Dan, do you want to speak to that? Maybe you can speak to that clearer than I can.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, like Jason's saying, it's a desktop exercise. There's no physical work done at the site, no borings or anything like that. And if there is something like Jason mentioned, a what's it, environmental concern. I forget the term that's used, but an item that's of environmental concern, that would bump it up to, hey, maybe we should do a phase 2 to look into that. So, for example, if there was an underground storage tank, that would definitely trigger it. But, so they'll do the phase 1, which is a desktop exercise, look at the history of the site and using various resources to find out if there is anything out there that could be a environmental concern.
All right, it's good to know. Like I say, learning a little bit. I know, Pauline, you've got your hand up. Is this with regards to the 21E question?
Absolutely. I read the PNS and I'm flipping papers as we talk. I can't read it for you right now, but what I remember from reading it yesterday is that the seller, North Country Developers or whatever his name is, are responsible for doing the 21E, assuring that the property is clean and before it is deeded back to the town. And I believe that is paragraph 19. And Robert, I hope you can validate that. I'm trying to read it with my glasses and I'm having a hard time, but I believe it's paragraph 19 on page 6 of 9 of the PNS. Inspection
Exactly.
rights.
Yep.
So I believe the seller is responsible to transfer a property which is absolutely clean under 21E, which was my biggest concern. So,
Yep.
Robert, you confirm that?
Yeah, Madam Chair, Pauline's right on. It's page 6, section 19, the inspection rights.
Yep, I see that.
Mhm.
I guess it determinate the
Great.
agreement.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you.
That sounds great. Anybody else have anything with regards to that part? I know I've got a couple other questions, but anything else on the first phase? No. All right. One other question I do have, and really this is, I don't know if Jason might be able to help out, but what's the number of vehicles that normally are at the beach?
Yeah.
I know that it's really tricky when they pull in on that side on Snake Hill, on that part of it's tough to get in and out of parking spots there. But go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, no, that was what I was going to suggest. I can tell you the number of vehicles have been down since we started charging non-residents. So non-residents don't come to the beach as much. So the parking has alleviated over the last few years. But I'll have to ask. I mean, I think we can probably do an analysis this summer. I don't see that would be a hard lift for us to do, just to kind of get a rough idea. Because to your point, how big of a parking lot do we even need? Because if we can get away with a smaller parking lot, we can put a bigger park area there too. So that's something we can talk about at the park commission meeting.
All right, that sounds great. Because oh, go ahead, Beth.
No, finish your thought, and then but I do have a follow-up on the parking. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I was going to go, if there's limited parking, then there's more area for trees. It's more area for a pocket park that you could put picnic tables and things like that. So that's the only reason why I was wondering. But all right, go ahead.
Yeah, and it would still be, I'm sorry, Beth, real quick. It would still be resident only. I mean, wouldn't, if we got more parking, we wouldn't all of a sudden go back to, I don't think, look, I'm not running for re-election, so I can't speak to what the next commission is going to do. But I would think that we would not go back on the residents only at the beach.
Okay. All right, Beth?
Yeah, my question was that I think whatever parking you would propose there really needs to be considering the capacity of the beach area and the recreational facilities at the beach itself. We don't want to cause problems with too many people and overcrowding at the beach and that location. So, some of the visuals that were shown, I don't know, Dan, what were the range of parking places that were shown there? Because that might actually be more than what you would ever really need to have at the site, given the question of capacity of the recreational space across the street.
Yeah, that's right. The renderings are anywhere from 30 to 50, and like Robert said, those are just concepts, ideas, thoughts.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right.
I think
Yeah.
Selectman Livingston said it best last night at last night's meeting, and Dan, you said it best tonight, to think of it as sort of a blank canvas. She said we don't want to. It's the intent has never been just to buy a $700,000 parking lot, and Beth, good point, taking into account the capacity of the beach, but also we want to keep all our options on the table. Maybe it's minimal parking or some other park or open space recreation use. So all good points. That's always the risk, putting a conceptual thing, is it's just to get people thinking. But again, Dan, you said it best. It's a blank canvas, more to be worked out.
Mhm. Yeah.
Is there an appraisal that's been done?
There is two sets of there's two pieces in your packet that the building commissioner did, two cost analysis. An appraisal hasn't been done, and the reason being is that that is the price. In other words, the private, there were negotiations which those minutes, by the way, so that was in an executive session, that those minutes will become public after February 20th, when the board releases it. It was a much higher, price through that process. It's definitely, the 700,000 is higher than an appraisal would be, but that's the price.
And it's okay for the town to acquire something without a comp appraisal? Or
Yeah, so
I understand, that there's the kind of limitations on the option now. It seems, given how much of the property is really in wetland or has limited access because of the wetland, that it's just quite an expensive ask. And I understand, the challenges with parking, but like that it would be nice to have some expansion of parking, but otherwise I kind of wonder, like, is it really an ideal location for a parklet, given that we've got a busy roadway between this and another really valuable asset? I don't want to discourage the potential, acquisition of a parcel, because we have had so much difficulty in acquiring open space and recreation land, or land at all. But given the uncertainty with it, I also somewhat question the appropriateness of purchasing it for open space and recreation, because it could be, some other municipal use, or even affordable housing in the future, or something like that. And I just don't want it to get pigeonholed at this point in time if there's a potential, other municipal use. I know you've
I
said that.
understand,
Yeah.
Beth, I understand that completely. And that's why I think part of it, at least the select board, want to put it to the people at town meeting, because I think a few things. One is, as you and I know, as everybody knows, but you and I have dealt with this, the challenge of land in the town of Ayer is at a premium. The second thing is, this is an opportunity, as I said. I think ultimately, if the people speak at town meeting, that look, and I understand the point you're making, look, it's too much money for whatever reason, and it doesn't pass. It's not the end of the world. The private developer is going to build a single family or a duplex, but is going to build a private property. Then there'll be, I'm sure, a lovely residential unit there. But there's an opportunity, I think, here, given the location to the beach and so forth, that the feeling, at least on behalf of the board, was that this opportunity should be presented to the town to decide moving forward. And looking at, as you're better versed than I am, but if you look at the master plan and the open space plan and so forth, the one thing is that this falling in the area of open space, recreation, park use, 2.8 acres that falls into that seem to make sense. We know that the senior center won't fit there, not that that was a consideration. And as of right now, I'm not aware of any other, municipal plan. But fair point. The price, and that's been discussed a lot. I mean, it is, the 700,000.
So if can I just ask if we give $350,000 and earmark it as open space and rec, and then a couple years, we purchase it, it gets developed, it gets knocked down, it gets cleared. That's going to take time. It's going to be a process. So, a year or two from now, it's not feasible to do parking or a park or whatever there. And it's more feasible to, maybe do affordable housing, do a Habitat of Humanity, build there. Can we shift it to that use after the fact, after it's already purchased?
I don't know, Robert?
I believe we would, we'd have to, the funding would have to be reimbursed to the CPC.
Okay, but can we shift like
If it
350 from one bucket and CPC funding back to open space and rec and move
If it
money around
was-
like that?
if it was put into open space, it would probably have to have a conservation restriction put on it. And the way to override that, I think, isn't, Beth, you would know, state legislature vote or something like that?
Right. So we would be right back where we were with the conversation about building a senior center at Peroni Park, where
Okay.
so if it's conservation land, it would have to be a conservation restriction. If it's recreation land that it's acquired for, then it has to be a recreational restriction that gets put on it if CPA funds are used.
Okay.
And so taking it out of that restriction is not as easy as reimbursing the money and
Right.
like doing a change in, that restriction. There's, state law that now requires mitigation for any land that gets removed from open space and recreation. So it's about really finding replication land, to mitigate for the loss of that land.
So in short terms, yes, we would have to use that for parks or open space and rec if we bought it with that funding.
Right. Or it's just a complicated, long, expensive process to take it out of it. And that's why, I think it would be great to have the extra parking, to have extra recreational amenities there. But if there is uncertainty and knowing that we do really have, the affordable housing demand, we do have other municipal buildings like, senior centers, but, maybe that one wouldn't work here, but, that kind of flexibility in.
Right. But here's the conundrum, Beth. I couldn't agree with you more, but sometimes we don't, the reality of the situation is we have a very short window in terms of flexibility. And so the opportunity is, the 700,000 for open space, recreation, parks, or not, and the developer develops it, and he's made that clear too. He's not looking to, the opportunity isn't going to be there beyond the spring.
Right, but have you talked about funding it all without CPA funds? Because then you don't have the land restriction, right? The use restriction. And
I mean, that's definitely has been discussed and is still a possibility. The select board had asked me to come to the CPC to discuss this. And I mean, it ultimately, as you know, it's this committee's decision. And I had talked to Janet briefly, who had suggested that we come before you. And so this is one option. The other option would be, to use, as I mentioned, whether it's the town's urban development action grant, some ARPA funding, a combination of two, a combination of those. There are other options that could be looked at.
And I definitely think that I would want to hear the perspective of the Park and Rec commissioners, and that they would have an opportunity to discuss this at one of their public meetings, as well, to determine, like the interest and the potential utility for the space. If it would advance and utilize CPA funds and fall into the open space and or recreation category, I think that you may want to consider almost partitioning the parcel so that there's a clear demarcation of the area that is designated for open space and recreation purposes in the event that there was ever any other municipal use that might happen on another portion of it. And that would be a kind of a question for consideration, or even maybe council about, if part of an acquisition is covered by an open space, by CPA funds, and then dedicated to open space and recreation, can you sort of partition the parcel for that land use control purpose?
So we're meeting next Thursday. We have time for that, Robert, right?
Yeah, I'm planning to come next Thursday to your meeting. Yeah.
Right. So, but we don't need to make a decision on this like tonight, right? We can.
No, that was not right. That was never my intent. Think of this as sort of like a pre-discussion, pre-application per the chair. I haven't, I would submit on behalf of the board, a formal application like Habitat did if this was to move forward. So we do have, Jason, to your question, we do have some time. I just want to stress that we have a short window if we're to do something on this end to get it all prepared for the spring town meeting.
Right. So next Thursday, the park commission anyway should be prepared to make I don't want to say decision because it's not our decision as a commission, but have some plan going forward for it. I think we can.
Yeah, I think if I may, Madam Chair, just quick, not just the intent, and I can clarify, the intent of the select board is to bring this opportunity before the town meeting. So the purchase and sale that you have, and bring it to the floor of town meeting, ultimately for town meeting's approval. The question we need to finalize on between now and then is the funding piece. Is it, for example, tonight is, say, one option would say 350,000 from CPC and 350,000 from town sources, or some combination of, or is it all, town funding sources from other fund, whether it's the UDAG, ARPA, or so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Janet, I think you're muted.
Sorry, thank you. What do you call it? I wanted to make sure that, Beth, you heard some of the conversation that was at the select board last night, where even some members of the select board and some members of the public requested, why can't we use all 700,000 from CPA funds?
That did come up. Yeah.
Yes, it did. And again, my first thought was, if this is going to be open space and recreation, and if we're going to be making some sort of park, like a pocket park, parts of it, having trees, picnic tables and such, that would also be, good way of using CPA funds instead of, if we paid the whole 700,000, now, what will we have left over to go ahead and do all the other enhancements to that property for a park. So just wanted to let you know that was some of the discussion that people were talking about. With the other I mean, again, I want to make sure you were aware of that. Anything else from the committee with regards to that discussion? Because I know Pauline's got her hand up. I know one question that I do have is if the town does take this property open as over as open space and rec, and there are parks, trees put in there, grassy areas and such, does the town maintain it, or does I mean, when I say the town, or is this going to be a park and rec, maintenance?
Madam Chair, we want to ask you if you would do it.
I don't have a lawnmower
I'm teasing.
anymore. No, I was gonna say, I
So-
don't have a lawnmower. I gave it to my neighbor.
I'm teasing.
I know.
So the simple answer, to be worked out, the vision would be, of course, it would be maintained by the town, whether it would be solely DPW or DPW and parks or a combination thereof. But I know that's one of your criteria in your applications for all CPC projects is this investment, is it going to be maintained? I think for the purposes of tonight, we can say conceptually, of course, the town will maintain the grounds of the facility.
Okay, all right. Anything else from the committee before?
Just-
Go ahead.
Yeah, just to say that I really appreciate the select board and Robert and Dan and everyone's work to, bring an opportunity like this forward. I think, it's really important that these things are just brought forward, discussed, that the public has an opportunity to hear about them and weigh in on them. We've just had so few opportunities to acquire land in town, but this one is really difficult because it's so much money for not a lot of land. And if it weren't for the need for a little bit of parking for the beach, I don't think, there would really be much interest in it at all. If you think about the amount of money that we're spending and the amount of land you could get for that money with a lot more flexibility on what you could do with it than what this property offers. It's a flag-shaped wetland, dissected, parcel that, is very limited in its size and space and scope of potential, development. So I think when you think about building a parking lot in a pocket park, you think about acquiring land to do that on with, a much lower price tag generally. But again, we've just had so few opportunities. So I don't want to disregard it.
The beauty of this would be that town meeting would be the ultimate decide. So
Right.
I'd say I'd be interested to see how the town weighs in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Oh,
Right.
yeah, we're not going to stop it by, from advancing by any means, but it's just that there's that internal, kind of conflict.
Yeah, I was gonna say struggle. Yeah. All right. Anybody else? I'm gonna, Pauline?
Thank you, Madam Chair and Janet, Beth, Jess, and everybody else who has commented. So yes, ultimately town meeting will approve or disapprove this proposal, but they will only do so if you move it forward. So I share that with you. What I would like to say, I know this is not public hearing, so I'll be very brief. I was totally in support of the development of the 2 townhouses because, as all of you know, we need more housing or affordable housing in Ayer. But I was contacted last weekend, and I don't think he will mind if I tell you, is the building commissioner begging me to please attend the selectmen's meeting and your meeting on behalf of this project because he is unfortunately on vacation. And at first I did not agree with this whole process, but then I spent a couple of days looking at it. There is very little available open space land to the town. This is a perfect opportunity for the town of Ayer to acquire a property that can augment open space and recreation. And I encourage those of you who think this is too expensive to look at the the building commissioner's analysis of the profit and loss assessment for this property, because that is really what persuaded me. That is available in the selectmen's packet from yesterday. I'm sure Robert would be more than happy to provide it to you. And really, that's all I want to say tonight, because I know you're going to have a public hearing and I'll be there with bells on, and I'm sure Charlie will as well. So thank you for your opportunity.
All right, Pauline, to
And-
answer, yeah, I was
Madam
gonna-
Chair, both of those are
are
in,
in the
Yeah.
packet.
Yep.
Yes, correct. That's what I was going to go ahead and say. Robert was able to give us the whole packet that he made available to the select board, as well as the letter to our committee. Okay.
Janet, can I ask a quick question?
Oh, yeah.
Based on the timing of town meeting and needing to have a public hearing, is this something we should be voting on tonight to move towards a public hearing if, you know, and hopefully have more information to be able to make the decision about moving it forward?
Yeah, I'm going to say we do have to make a decision, because if we're going to have a public hearing, it will also be at the March meeting. So, yes. And, you know, again, we'll have more information as well, and everybody can do their own research and analysis. And even if we, you know, we do move it forward to being a town warrant, you know, it is an opportunity for the town to say, yes, this would be great to have it across the street from Sandy Pond Beach, or no, it's too expensive to do it. So yeah. So that being said, if there's any other questions, can I hear a motion to move this to a public hearing at the March meeting?
I will go ahead and make a motion to move this forward to a public hearing at the March meeting.
All right, Colleen makes the motion. Anybody seconds?
I'll second that.
I'm sorry, who?
Just beat me up. Just beat me up.
That's
That's all
okay.
right.
Jess,
I'll put it as a tie, Barry.
That's okay.
Jess and Barry tied for second. All right, let me go ahead and do the roll call. Jess,
Aye.
Beth,
Yes.
Barry,
Aye.
Colleen,
Aye.
Jason.
Yes, but I'm not gonna be able to attend that meeting. Do you need somebody from Parks there, or would you like somebody from Parks there to see, I can see if one of the other commissioners or Jeff can attend?
That would be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, and Julie?
Yes.
Okay, and the chair says aye, so it's been approved. So Robert, you've got homework to do. And,
Yes.
and with that, we'll have it at right after the Habitat for Humanity's public hearing on, what did I say it was, March what?
6th.
6th. All right. All right, so that sounds good. All right, this was good. Thank you very much. Dan, Robert, I really do appreciate it.
Thank you all, and thank you for the time. I know it's a late night, but I appreciate all of the questions and input, and we will see you soon. And if you have questions in the interim, please feel free to reach out to Dan or I, and we'd be happy to have all your questions and all the info.
Excellent. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on with the agenda, we've got public participation. Is there anything else, Pauline, seeing that you are one of our members of the public?
Janet, I just want to thank you personally for your efforts to provide the documents that I requested earlier today. I know you put a lot of effort into that, and I just want to thank you for that. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad that Dan is going to be able to go ahead and put the presentation, because I didn't know that there was going to be a presentation, that he'll put that available on the website, and that on that stormwater website. So
Yeah, actually, I already did. Actually, it's up there now.
you are so good.
Thank you all so much.
All right, thank you. All right, moving on. The next item on the agenda is just the committee reports. Is there anything, Jess? Conservation?
No, we've been quiet.
Okay. I gather I'm going to be seeing you guys tomorrow night. I'm on the agenda. All right. Beth, Open Space and Rec?
Just to mention that the Wild and Scenic Stewardship Council Small Community Grants Program is open and active now, so you can submit requests for funding for communities within the Wild and Scenic designated area. And this has been a great project that Ayer has been able to take advantage of for signs for the water bodies, the installation of the path in the pollinator meadow at McPherson Road last year, and the interpretive panels there as well. So, and PACE has been utilizing it to help support the water chestnut removal as well. So it's been a great
That's good to
program that the community's benefited from. And if anybody has ideas and would like to talk it over with me, I'm happy to do that too.
All right. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Barry, I'm going to put you on the spot with regards to the inventory, the historic inventory. You're on mute too.
Sorry about that. No, you can close that out. I talked
Okay.
to, we had a meeting tonight and I asked George, we can close that out.
All right. I'll go
Because I knew
ahead.
you were gonna ask me about it, so.
Sounds good. All right. And Colleen, anything with, or is there anything else with historic? I'm sorry.
Yes.
What
The message board that we're gonna put near the rail trail has been ordered. It takes about 12 weeks to get. And what we're doing right now is I made a large poster board because it's 41.5 by 42. And we're trying to get the right configuration of some of the older vintage photos of the area, the rail trail, the downtown area. And we're going to sort of try to do some sort of an overlay of what it looks like now compared to what it looked like then. It will also have pointers to different restaurants downtown. So we encourage people to get downtown and go to some of the historic buildings or the restaurants that are in the Page Block or the Moore building now. I'm sorry, but yeah.
Mhm.
And
Is that
I'm
going to
sorry, go ahead.
be, is that going to be right at Main Street or is that going to be on Groton Street?
No. Well, we want to put it. That's what we got to do. We have to figure out exactly where it's going to do, but where we're going to put it. But we don't want to put it all the way down on Groton Street for anyone who might be going in the parking garage and then heading towards Main Street. So it's trying to figure out the best place to have it visible. So,
Okay.
and the other thing that Maggie in particular is working on, because we're trying to get an oral history project going, and we have it's still being edited, but it'll have a QR code. I don't know if you can see that. It's a little trifold flyer for soliciting people to want to tell us their story so that we can make a history project with it. And then we also will have a flyer to put out as well. So, and that's still in the editing stages, but that's the plan.
Excellent. Nice. I know Maggie's been busy, so that's
Yes.
really good. Nice. Thank you very
Yep.
much.
Yep.
All right, Colleen, Housing Trust?
Not much to report. We're receiving applications for the next round of the rental assistance program, so we'll meet again next month to look at those.
All right. I'm also going to be on the agenda there too as well. Jeff and Alicia put me there, so. Okay, and Jason, I'm going to put you on the spot with regards to that perimeter path. I know that you mentioned about the, the embankment and everything else, but can that money get closed out?
Yeah, I think so. That's going to have to be a joint project between Parks and Housing and
Oh,
I guess the state who owns that land, right? So
correct. Yeah. All right, so I'll go ahead and do that. With that, I'm glad Robert's still here because I know one of the items that, I know Julie. Well, hold on. No, Julie, Planning Board.
I can be quick. We were going over the table of uses that you nicely touched on earlier in this meeting, Janet. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, sounds good. And I know Ken made a nice presentation at your last meeting. Robert, with regards to the monies for CPA funds to be put back into the respective categories, I know that we are negative in community housing and low in historic. We have monies that were set aside, the old firehouse. I know I asked you to talk with town council.
Mhm.
Do we need a separate warrant for that?
So, Madam Chair, according to town council, and they just want to finish their due diligence for the purposes of tonight, I believe we will need a warrant article to put that back. He being town council, I will confirm, I had hoped, as I told you for tonight, we'll have confirmation on that by the end of the week. Because town meeting authorized those funds ultimately, though they haven't been used and you have the negative balance, he believes we'll need an article to have town meeting put that back.
Okay.
I will get that to you post haste and you can share it with the committee. If we need the article, we'll get that ready. If it will just revert back without the article, we'll advise on that process.
All right, that sounds good. Because like I say, during the select board meeting last night, it was mentioned that CPA does have approximately 2.6 million in total amount.
Right.
All right, you need to look at each specific category. So with regards to, like, say, the request for the 71 Sandy Pond, there's really a little over $1 million in open space. Other than that, the other items are either in budgetary reserve or else we do have a negative balance for the housing of almost 360, because when we throw that
Right.
150 back in, it goes above the 200. So, all right. Thank you very much, Robert, for that update. For any type of housing update, there really isn't anything special with the Housing Authority and the Housing Committee I already gave. So, Pauline?
Yes, Madam Chair, Janet, thank you so much. With respect to this specific topic, I remember back in, I think 20 odd years ago, when we adopted the Community Preservation Act, the application, if you will, that Patrick Hughes and I created as chairman and co-chairman of that committee at the time, I think monies would automatically revert if they were not used within a certain period of time. And I would encourage you to take a look at that and take a look at that, as opposed to having to process it through town meeting. If there was a definite period, Robert, and I know this precedes you, but please take a look at the original documents, because to my knowledge, none of those applications and documents have changed. I'm going to stop talking because you're nodding your head.
Oh, no, I'm nodding. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay.
I'm
Nope.
nodding because I agree with you in that, Madam Chair, to Pauline's point, there's a town council just wants to verify, and I'll look as well. There's a very high likelihood that, as Pauline said, especially on the source documents, which I believe have not changed, that it would just revert back without any town meeting action. That would be preferable. We just want to get that cleared, and unfortunately don't have that for tonight, but you'll have it by the end of the week. And if we need to do something, we'll be prepared to do it. But I think you're going to be in good shape, meaning that'll just revert back.
Excellent. And then that, Madam Chair, as I said last night at the Selectmen's meeting, frees up, FREES, approximately $2 million plus for grants, not appropriation, but grants for these other projects, which is why I advocate for the $700,000 for 71 Sandy Pond Road. Because if we're not using $200,000 for the central fire station, that's still a $300,000 benefit to the Community Preservation Fund.
Right, but you got to remember too, everything is in categories. So that 200,000 goes into housing. And that's why I wanted to make sure that people, and I did put the new spreadsheet out on the website. So, you know, the balance of, for open space is at 1 million. A little over.
Agreed, but there is $3 million in there. And the original intent of this program, CPA program, was for open space. And we've not had many opportunities to purchase open space. So I'll just leave it at that.
No, I understand, but like I said, we have 3 categories. So we need to make sure we focus on the 3 as well. So
You and I need to get together and go through that box of stuff I have.
you got it. All right, Beth, you had your hand up?
I was just gonna say, our grant agreements, do they indicate that the grantor or the grant recipient has a deadline to spend the funds, or it automatically reverts? Because that would, I think, be, you know, the record for each arrangement with, you know, each project. I don't know that anything on the application itself would matter. You know, it would be much more critical to see what's in the grant agreements. And just from my experience working in other communities for which KP Law was counsel, we did have articles to revert funding that had been voted on at town meeting, you know, to be a subsequent vote at town meeting. But we didn't do one article for each item. We did, like, each year we would just do a slew of them. You know, if there was a remaining balance for any project, then we would refer to the article in the year of the town meeting for which it was awarded, and then say what was remaining, and then have the vote, you know, for all of those that were listed on that article at the town meeting. But
I have an answer on that. If just looking at one of our drafts for the outstanding grant agreements, the first item says the term of this grant agreement is from, and gives the dates, unless the CPC grants an extension for good cause, and then goes on to say funds not utilized by a certain date or subsequent extension will be returned to the Community Preservation Undesignated Reserve. That's what our current grant agreements.
Okay.
yeah, so we would need to look at each one, you know, to
Yeah, that's one
see
of
what it
them.
says. Yeah.
That was the feasibility study.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So,
Janet, Madam Chair, we'll have a definitive, and I'll transmit that to you to give to the whole committee, town councils.
excellent. That sounds good. Okay, yeah. Thank you, Robert.
Yep.
All right. That being it, I'm gonna go ahead, and if there's nothing else, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, Barry makes the motion to adjourn. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, and Beth seconds, and I think I can just go all in favor? Aye.
Hi.
All right, again, everybody, thank you so much.